Hello, everyone. We're just going to get started in a second. My name is Devin, and I am a Founders Club member actually for Bizwell Studio. And I've been working with Laurent and Jennifer and on this webinar, and we're about to start. We're just going to get started in a few minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to join. And I just want to make sure everyone can see and hear us correctly. And if there are any technical issues, we'll try to solve them before we start today. So if you can, let us know where you're logging in from. Just go to the chat and Zoom and just put the city or the place that you're coming from today. It'd be great to know. I'm logging in from Vancouver Island, and in a second, I'm going to introduce our guests, Jennifer and Laurent, or our hosts rather, Jennifer and Laurent, co-founders of Bizwell Studio.
Hi, Devon.
Hey, guys.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be with you today.
Today, we're talking about how to attract new clients with a clear message that doesn't break the bank. And we're going to talk about what we can control and what we can't control in our life and our business. And, this is a little bit of twist on storytelling, finding our unique message. We talked about last month alignment, making sure that you're aligned in your business, in your life, and what you want to achieve with your passions. Today is a little bit of a twist on storytelling and message finding and all of the ways that we can attract clients and some of the smart ways too that you should attract clients, some of the ways that don't cost us any money. And so we're going to look at that. So without further ado, I think we can get started. We do have a few people in the webinar and we're just a minute past the hour. So it's going to be about 45 minutes today. I'll introduce our hosts, Jennifer Unruh and Laurent Goldstein. Jennifer and Laurent are two amazing video producers. They own a video agency in Vancouver, Citrus Pie, and they're co-founders of Bizwell Studio. And so this is Bizwell Studio. Welcome to Bizwell Studio. And I'll bring it over to Laurent and Jennifer to start the webinar today.
Well, thank you very much, Devon. It's nice to be with all of you today. I'm happy to do that webinar with my partner, Jennifer. So the topic of the webinar it's really a reflection around the times that we are in. We are in a recession, which means that consumers and business owners have less money that they can spread around, obviously. So we are thinking constantly about what can we do to actually still grow our businesses, generate more business, but in a way that we don't keep spending money because there is less money that can be spent. So it's really about thinking outside the box. I'm a firm believer, one of the business owners that I really admire. We did a 1-hour documentary on his life, Jerry Levasseur. At some point during an interview I did with him, he said, when everybody takes a right, I like to take a left. And I love that philosophy because, if you do the same as everybody else, then you're not standing out of the crowd. And it's really difficult to do business that way today because there is so much competition. So it's about really honing your message, refining your message, and that's only one part of it, because it's also learning about how to deliver your message in ways that are much more efficient, much more effective, much more powerful.
You need to make sure that your market and your message match.
Yes, and your audience, making sure that you have a good understanding of what we call the avatar is. And I know, Devon, you're an expert in identifying personas, which is part of the work that we do when we actually try to really assess who is the ideal customer of our business, who is the ideal avatar. Because if you don't know that, you're going to land up spending money that is targeting an audience that's not your ideal audience. So that you have to be very careful of that. So, but the first point I wanted to kind of reflect on, because that is true in life, but it's also very true in business. There are things we can control and things that are out of our control. So the key here is to, in my opinion, spend more time, effort, and money in things that we can control and less in things that are out of our control from a marketing standpoint. Now, from an environment a social standpoint, there are definitely things that we cannot control. For example, we cannot control the war in Russia. We cannot control the recession. We cannot control the inflation. We can be frustrated about it, but the bottom line is, you know, it's better to react in a way that is positive to events coming at us and not become victims and become too frustrated with events, because it has no positive output.
Yesterday we were at the BC Boat Show, and we have a client there, and he has a product that he sells. It's heaters for boats, and his product was actually manufactured in Russia. So that was out of his control with the war. So he was lucky that the manufacturer moved the plant from Russia to Latvia. So he now can still sell his product, but that was something that was out of his control for a very short time. It caused a huge amount of anxiety for him.
That's a good point. So I'd like to start with reflecting a little bit, and I'm sure these are some topics that we list here will resonate with a lot of you. What are the most top of mind current ways that business owners, whether you're a dentist or a car dealer, an RV dealer, you own a dry cleaning business, you own a hotel, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, a builder, doesn't matter the industry. As an example, most businesses spend some money on SEO. Why? Because everybody wants to be on the first page of Google. Why? But because if you're on the fourth or fifth, even the second page of Google, it's very hard for people to find you. They won't go there. So there is a lot of money that is being spent on SEO. Now, it used to be, I'm talking
Yellow
back,
Pages.
it used to be Yellow Pages, yes. But it used to be like 15 years ago, SEO was a little bit predictable. Like, you know, the guys who were very good in SEO, they kind of found ways that were predictable if I put some efforts in that area, the way Google works with their algorithms, it's going to move you up on Google. But what happened is Google kept changing their algorithms. They've been changing all the time. So it means that SEO has become less predictable. Another issue with SEO is that as a small business owner, it depends on your industry, but in most industries, small business owners are usually competing against giants. For example, if you have let's say you have an insurance agency, well, there are companies in that space that are massive. Hub International would be one of them. As an example,
A bank.
if you're a financial advisor and you have a small office, you're alone in your office, maybe you have a partner and you have a receptionist. Well, you could spend money on SEO, but if you're in a town of 200,000 people, you're going to be fighting against CIBC, Wood Gundy, if you're in Canada, against like Raymond James, against massive, big organizations that have a huge amount of money. The banks, Scotiabank, they are spending money, obviously, in SEO, and they have unlimited funds. So it's a losing battle for you to spend money there. So that's an issue with SEO. Landing pages. Now, we are fans of landing pages because people think always about having the best website. But the problem is when people come to your website, it's not targeted. So if you're spending money on SEO, if you're directing traffic, you should really direct traffic to a landing page.
To a specific page where you're talking about a specific problem that your avatar is having. Sending them to just the homepage of a website. You don't want your ideal customer to have to be looking around the website and trying to find that you actually are providing the solution to their problem. You want them right away to go to a page where you're telling them a story of why you understand their problem and why you have the best solution for that problem.
And you need to agitate the problem too, right,
yes.
Devon? The problem has to be agitated.
Well, there's usually more than one. There's like a sub problem to a problem, or sometimes they may not even be aware of a problem. But when you write about it, because you've talked to different people, they might say, "Oh yeah, that's true too. I didn't really realize.
But I mean,
that.
if we go back to our original thoughts about saving money, like, not breaking the bank and being more effective in a recession, a landing page, if it's well targeted, right, and well done, is a very effective way to direct traffic to a specific service or product that you're selling. So I would say it is something that is being done more and more. And I would say this is a very smart way to do business today. I mean, and it kind of goes hand in hand with ad campaigns.
Yes. To have a very effective ad campaign, you have the copy of the ad. First of all, you have to make sure that it's compelling enough quickly, because you only have a few seconds to grab somebody's attention on a Facebook ad or whatever, that wherever you are, Instagram, that will actually lead them to do the click. And then when they click on the ad, that copy, the video there needs to then keep telling them why they understand the problem that person is experiencing and wants help with. So that ad then you have to lead it to an outcome. That's maybe you want them to register with their email address, so you can start a communication that way through email. That's very, very effective. Or maybe it's that you want them to actually, it's e-commerce, you want them to actually to purchase that product at the end of that page that they come to from the ad.
Yeah, I mean, so lead generation campaign, this all ties together. I was reflecting more on lead generation campaigns for companies that need to have a sales team. It is hard to find good salespeople. It has always been, and there is a high turnover usually within a sales team. It can be a very expensive proposition to hire, train salespeople. However, it is necessary for companies that actually sell a product or a service. They have to have people selling, obviously. So one of the ways, and I get solicited all the time, and some of you in the audience, you probably are getting the same thing. And there are lots of companies that outsource the sales team, basically. And sometimes their sales team could be in India, or it could be anywhere in North America. It depends. But basically what they do is they charge you a fee, and then they have an army of people calling on your behalf, on behalf of your company. I would say this can be effective if you're a B2C business. Because why do I say that? Because it really becomes a numbers game. And it doesn't matter if a consumer says, no, I'm not interested, because there are unlimited amount of people almost that they can call on. But if your business is B2B, and if you're selling high ticket items, and there's obviously a limited amount of businesses you can target because of a geographical constraints, for example, or a niche market, to actually use some outside services for selling and cold calling could be a big issue, because the challenge I see is that these organizations do not have an in-depth knowledge of your business culture. They don't have an in-depth knowledge of your product and your service.
And
the
end result.
And the end result. And they only speak at a superficial way. They are selling a multitude of products and services for the most part.
So they're probably using a script, which today business owners are
they can sense that.
They can sense that. And when they hear a script, subconsciously, it makes, the trust factor goes down, the credibility goes down. It's not sold in an authentic way, or approached in an authentic
way. Authentic way is the key.
Yeah, because if you're hearing like this, like, I don't want to say, it's like a script, kind of like, oh, then we do this, and then we say this, and then we do this, and how does that sound? And business owners are much more sophisticated than they were 10 years ago, because they've been pitched so much.
Absolutely.
So people become then much more jaded, and they almost feel like what you're providing is not an effective way.
And if you are using your own sales team, it's super important that your salespeople are properly trained, motivated on a regular basis, inspired, because selling is a difficult, it's a difficult job. And it's also important that they know how to deliver their message properly, that they really own their message, and that they also are comfortable delivering their message, whether it's speaking in a group of people or speaking one-on-one, speaking in front of a camera. These are very important factors as well. So I would say if you don't use the services of a lead generation organization, if you use your own way of generating leads with your own sales team, keeping top of mind to make sure that your salespeople are comfortable delivering the message and are properly trained. Then, of course, social media. I mean, social media didn't exist at the time of the Yellow Pages, but today, this is the way we communicate as a society. So social media can be great. It is what I've noticed meeting with, you know, hundreds and thousands of business owners over the years, is that everybody is aware that they should have some kind of social media presence, but they go at it in a way that's a bit erratic. They might go at it where they're really steady for 2 or 3 months and then they drop off because it's time consuming. It is time consuming, and you need to have somebody in your team. It could be one person if you're a small company. It could be more than one if you're a bigger company. But one or more than one person who are dedicated, they are dedicating some time during the week, let's say, to post on social media. And it's not just posting. You have to know
it's engagement.
It's engagement. So you have to be posting things that are timely, that people can connect with. And also you have to be posting on the right platform. As an example, if you're selling a product that is geared toward an age group of, let's say, 18 years old to 30 years old, well, you should not be wasting time on Facebook. You should be on Instagram. You should be doing YouTube Shorts, TikTok. You should be doing, YouTube videos in a way that's more like the vertical format, because that's what they consume, short content. But if you're talking to an audience that is over 50, Facebook is a good place. So it's important to understand if you're B2B, LinkedIn. And if you want to attract business owners, coaches, people who are CEOs, if you're talking to HR people, you are going to find them on LinkedIn. So make sure that you're better at understanding how a platform like LinkedIn works, and make sure that you're better at understanding how you can grow your presence within that platform, as an example.
And two things I'd like to bring up about, we talk about engagement. So I'm not saying like posting engagement. I'm saying like when you're on LinkedIn, like Laurent goes, he's a sales master. So when he goes and posts on a LinkedIn page that has like 50,000 people on it, and he creates a post there, or he comments on a post, sometimes he'll get more traction from commenting or posting on another than on his own profile page on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So I've been doing that a lot.
So that is a really important distinction. It's not just about posting on your own platform, it's commenting and providing value on others. And the other thing I'd like to bring up is that so many people are so preoccupied with how many likes or comments, or how many, let's say if they got 10,000 people on their Facebook page, or let's say they only have 300. Well, they say, oh, I need like 5,000 people. You don't need that. I know some companies that sell millions of dollars worth, and their Facebook group is only, say, 3,000 people. So
it's about the engagement.
So really. it's not a numbers game. It's how well you engage on those pages.
I find it very effective on LinkedIn, for example, to join some groups. Same with Facebook, definitely. Well, I do it more on LinkedIn from a business standpoint. I do it on Facebook from my own personal interest, like music, for example.
Like you're a big Van Morrison
fan. I'm a
fan.
huge Van Morrison fan. Maybe I'm not the only one.
Like
with audience.
You post on a
Van Morrison
page, And
tell a story,
yeah, and you typically tell a story around a song,
a song.
and you get like hundreds
Oh,
of
I
likes
get
and comments.
150, 140 likes, 30, 40, 50 comments. So because I tap into an audience that's already there.
That love to talk about one specific thing. In this case, it's Van
That's
Morrison.
right. With LinkedIn, I belong to a couple of 2 or 3 groups that are sales related groups with large audiences. I also belong to like a health and wellness group. And I like to post in these groups and I like to comment and I get good traction. And what happens is people then they see my posts in these groups because they have large audience. The posts are very targeted. They see my comments and they send me a connection invite. So I've been connecting with more people that way because we are aligned. You know, we are aligned with common interests.
Well, and they value what you're talking about.
So that's kind of, I would say, that doesn't cost anything to do that. I mean, it takes time. But again, to go back to our things we can control, things we cannot control, and not breaking the bank, I mean, it doesn't cost anything to post on LinkedIn in a way that is smart, right? So influencers, it can be very effective to use influencers, again, because of their audience.
That's right. If you're tapping into that your product or service provides an outstanding result for a specific problem, and that influencer has already 5,000, 10,000, 200,
100,000.
you know, like even 200. But if it's very, if it's executive CEOs that, you know, like a specific, you don't need thousands of people to grow your clients that way. There is also platforms now that have influencers on there that you can hire so let's say you are a small hotel and you could hire an influencer that goes around the world and he stays in hotels and then he talks about it and visually videos and all that, the experience and the scenery around there and the food and all that kind of stuff. You could, that could be one of the ways that you grow your business is by developing a relationship with an influencer. And there's a platform actually that's been developed in Vancouver that actually they have a place for the influencers, like the creative people, to show their creative work and how they have this engagement. And then there's a place for people that want, business owners that actually want to use those services. So they are providing communication for them to then start that, you know, relationship.
Yeah, I think that's actually very useful to talk about influencers because sometimes it can be a shortcut. It can be a little expensive upfront, but the result is, I would say, not guaranteed, but it could be a shortcut to getting results faster because they already have the connections. Like in my previous business, I was dealing with influence. I was selling a software. We were selling a software to mostly the chiropractic profession. And instead of what I decided to do is connect with influencers in the profession. So who were they? In that case, they were practice management gurus. They were coaches that had sometimes 200, 300, 400, 500 chiropractors in their group, sometimes more. And they were influencers. Why? Because the chiropractors who belong to these practice management groups spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to belong to these groups. Mm-hmm. So the leaders of these groups were highly trusted. They were trusted. So if I was actually communicating directly with the leaders of these practice management groups, and if I was in a way giving them an incentive to promote my software, I would automatically have a shortcut where automatically with one contact,
credibility,
properly nourished, I could get dozens of sales within their groups. So it's a shortcut. Instead of trying to reach out to each chiropractor individually and source them, I would go to one person and get that reach. Very effective. Now, the last thing we wanted to talk about is online events. You know, like the summits, the online summits, virtual summits, which are basically seminars. They're basically seminars that are happening online. And that has been going on now for a little while. We did one around the topic of chronic pain a few years ago, and we were successful. We had over 12,000 people attending it, like 52 speakers. It was a lot, but it was a whole week. But the point is, what is the outcome that typically organizers of a seminar want to have? Typically, they are not looking at making money just by the fee that people would pay to attend the seminar. That is usually a way for them to cover their cost of the seminar. There is an outcome typically, which is to sell products. It's either selling their products and services, and it can be selling indirectly products and services from some of the participants, speakers,
or sponsors.
It has to do with affiliate marketing, getting money from affiliate marketing. So I would say it's a good idea. If you are in a kind of a niche, if you are in a especially in the health and wellness space, you can put together a seminar. If you're a chiropractor and you're doing more and more work around concussion, great idea. Why don't you think about putting a seminar around concussions and position yourself as an expert? Bring a few speakers, because at the end of the day, what you're going to do, hopefully, is recruit more patients who can become patients in your clinic and spend money to get help with concussion services that you provide.
And one thing that it can do also is, if you surround yourself with speakers who are top experts, and maybe you're not a top expert, but it elevates your status to that expert status in a very short way. So that's one of the things that putting on a summit can do. When you have, let's say, maybe you have 15 speakers and you've got 10 of them, they're like world experts, it will elevate your brand.
Yeah, so absolutely. So these are kind of more the current, I would say, top of mind ways, right, of doing business or generating more business. And I guess, Devon, you're also an expert in these different ways we've discussed.
Well, the thing I'd say, guys, is like all of those have to do with high value content first.
Yes.
In most cases, right? You can do a lead generation campaign, or sorry, a conversion focused campaign with a landing page where you're just trying to get, say it's your e-commerce store, you're just trying to get someone to buy the chocolates for Valentine's Day. So you have a great campaign focused discount message,
very narrow,
and it's very narrow, it's very segmented. But the other stuff is all really about high value content first, right? So it's you bring people into your world, right? Into your world through providing them the thing that they really want or need in terms of value. So if it's someone who is dealing with relationship difficulties and it's a marriage kind of thing, and you're a coach, and you target very specifically to the female in the partnership, you want to give them an ebook or something with a very attractive title that tells them the steps they should take, the things they should not do, sometimes is the best thing to say to them, and to save their marriage, right? So there's a lot of, and that kind of value, bringing that value first will always endear your audience, and your audience will respect you and look to you. Oh, maybe this person might have something for me they can help me with. Maybe this person is the right fit for me.
Yeah,
so you're not trying to sell to, like with this stuff, it's not about selling to people that are ready to buy. It's selling to people that are not even thinking about buying maybe, but you can bring them up the ladder because you're using the right content to attract them, right? The right story to attract them.
And I think you're talking about story again. I go back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Regardless of what method you use, you really need to have clarity in your message. You have to be more comfortable delivering that message for sure. Because we haven't spoken about video, but video content today, YouTube is pretty big. I'm sure everybody has heard of YouTube. People consume videos like crazy.
Yeah.
So if you are trying to communicate the benefits of your product and services without being on YouTube, it's silly today. You have to be on YouTube. But if you're on YouTube and if you're on Zoom, even on Zoom, if you're talking to an audience, you have to be clear on your message, as you just said, and you have to be comfortable on how to deliver that message. And that goes together again also with what I'm going to talk about now, which is an area of expertise for me. It is the out-of-box way today. It used to be the in-the-box way 20 years ago, but today it's more out-of-box of attracting customers with more traditional methods. So what are more traditional methods? One of the methods I absolutely love is cold calling, whether it is cold calling on the phone or actually cold calling in person. I'm a huge fan of cold calling in person. And, you know, there is no limits to what you can do. You might think, well, that's not for me. Let's say you own a car dealership or an RV dealership in town. You might think, well, it's not about cold calling for me. I wait for people to come to my showroom, my website. I spend money on SEO. I spend a lot of money on my website, having my inventory there, having all of that done in a way that people come to the website and they are going to pick up the phone, you know. But really, it's also about the fact that you can grow your business through traditional ways of let's say cold calling. What do I mean by that? Well, you could be a car dealer, you're in town, and why not, instead of just waiting on a slow day in the middle of January when nobody is buying cars, especially during a recession, if your salespeople are just waiting for leads to show up on their computer screen, or for the phone to ring, or for people to come in the showroom, they're wasting time, right? But they could be proactive in a way that doesn't cost you any money as the dealer principal. For example, by going around the community, introducing themselves to the local business owners and inviting some business owners for lunch, you know, and then just with no agenda except hey, I wanted to say, you know, I work with a local Ford dealership. We've never met. You know, I would love to learn more about your business. I'd like to share also a little bit about our philosophy of selling cars. Would you be open? I'd love to invite you for lunch. Are you open? What are they going to say? Sure, why not? Let's go have lunch. So that business owner might not be in the market for buying a car today, but he may have a friend, he may have an employee who is looking for buying a car, or he might be in the market of buying a car in 6 months, as an example. So that does not cost anything except time. And it is out of the box thinking. And I think we need to think out of the box today because the environment has become so competitive.
I'd like to bring up a story here. We were in Victoria just a couple days ago, and Laurent came across a woman's that he had met, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And and he had her emails and they had communicated through email. So, but instead of him sending her an email, he actually went physically to her clinic to reintroduce himself to her.
Yeah, and I got
and was much more effective than if he would have reached out with just an email saying, "Oh, you know, I thought about you," and you know,
it's more engaging. The cold calling, you bring in the human factor, and of course, you have to be comfortable doing that. And this is one of the things that we teach on how to get comfortable when you're actually cold calling. But I am a big fan of it because I think people are craving human connections. If you love the product you sell, if you love the services you provide, if you have a good grasp on the industry that you're calling on, you are going to come across as authentic and genuine. If you're really interested in helping others, helping business owners or consumers, if you're calling on consumers with your product or service, you should be interested in finding out more about their business, their challenges, in a way that is not invasive but more casual, but also with, you know, interest and compassion and well, so that's kind of
it's that mindset.
the way I do it.
So
it's a mindset.
Instead of thinking that you're selling somebody, you're thinking of how you're going to provide a solution to a problem for them, and that
Yeah.
how are you serving, like you're serving them.
Well,
you're
I
not
mean,
selling
really,
them.
I heard a very good definition of selling the other day. Selling is helping somebody solve a problem. Basically, you're helping them solve a problem that they have. Problem could be big, could be small, but that's ultimately what it is, you know. So networking events, I like to attend networking events. I think they can be very good. Depends on what events. But I think the best way, really, again, it comes back to being in control. It is for you to organize your own networking events around a topic, around
A specific outcome.
a specific outcome, and invite people to your event. Like that, you're really in control. You meet people, and you have a common goal, and you set a clear outcome, and you bring people in because you want to discuss an issue, a problem, and see and research solutions to that problem. I think networking is good because you never know where it can take you. You can make
Well,
one
you meant
contact.
like we were at a open house
2
last
weeks
week,
ago or
2
last
weeks
week.
in Kelowna, and we had no idea who else was going to be coming to this open house of this new clinic that is opening with very interesting outcome. And through that networking event, open house, Laurent met somebody that knew somebody that was
Is a Hollywood producer.
And right now we're pitching a film and also talking about another health, documentary. So this person that is in Kelowna that we met has a friend in LA that is a producer. So you just never know who you're going to meet.
That's true.
At those events.
I'm a big fan of attending trade shows, but not necessarily as an exhibitor. We've attended hundreds of trade shows as exhibitors over the years.
Hundreds.
Literally hundreds, but more as a visitor. I like to, I mean, if the trade show is around an industry of interest, an industry that we are selling to, that is part of our avatars, I love to go there. I like to visit the business owners at their booth. But I do it in a way that is not robotic, that is not, with a specific pitch or outcome. I really try to kind of suck it in as far as what are they trying to get across? What is their philosophy? What is their way of doing business? And when I see something where I can see that they've put efforts into it, I like to compliment them. I like to say that, hey, I've noticed that. I've noticed that you must have spent a lot of time putting together that branding. This is really good. Well, I am not faking it. I'm honest when I say that. And I know that they are going to be open to hear more because they will see that I appreciate the efforts that they've done. So that's a really good way when you're actually attending a trade show with the intent to create connections that can lead into sales, is to do it in a way that is very authentic. I think is super important. Mm-hmm. When it comes to advertising, I mean, advertising is almost a word that is passé now. I mean, who talks about advertising today? The traditional way of advertising, TV, radio, newspaper,
PR. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much because social media has become so prevalent, because the way of doing business has been changing so rapidly. The traditional way of advertising can be extremely obsolete.
Yeah,
but,
and let's talk about this because, yes, like for example, like Laurent told me a stat last night, and I was completely shocked. He was telling me that CNN has like
450,000 audience
views right of a specific topic. A leader speaking about like something every day at 2:00.
That's the average audience, only 500,000.
So you look at CNN. And then you look at somebody like
Russell Brand. He has 6 million followers. Just imagine that. Well, that was not conceivable even 5 years ago. Honestly, don't you think, Devon?
Yeah, this is the revolution we're in, right? It's like, it's like when we created books for the first time and we could print them, right? This is where we're at. We're at a time where the content is king, and advertising although you can do it traditionally, why would you when you get so much more feedback from your Google ads, your Facebook ads, and data that you can, and the data that Google and Facebook have is unprecedented compared to what any, advertising company has. So I mean, like, why, I think that's definitely, if you're going to advertise, I would focus on the PPC, the pay-per-click ads, right? Rather than the traditional, but that's just me.
At the same time, in some markets, maybe in smaller community,
radio,
I mean, there are some potential benefits in connecting with the local radio, the local newspaper. The thing is, today, you should be using leverage much more than before. You should be negotiating. You should be getting more value because they are starving. I mean, the newspapers, the local newspapers are closing down. The radio stations are having a hard time. So that gives you more leverage. So I'm not saying don't do it, but if you do it, be aware that, make sure that you're really serving a community that is using these mediums, and make sure that you are actually leveraging the fact that you are going to spend some money with them and they have to give you maximum value for that. That's kind of what I'm thinking when it comes to that.
That's great.
So I just wanted to say, why is all of that so important? What we are talking about, even talking about, SEO, your website, the conversion on your website. Why is it so important? Why is it that you should be careful to minimize the amount of bleeding, I call it, that your website experiences every day? I call bleeding potential leads coming to the website who then leave without taking action, not because you have a website that's not nice, but it's just like your website doesn't stand out. It doesn't compel them to take action. And that could be for a combination of reasons. Usually, one of the reasons could be is because you're not in the website. What I mean by that is you don't have a compelling story, a compelling video where you actually talk about your company, your product, your service with passion, with conviction that can grab and inspire people. Then they are going to go to the next website. On average, consumers visit about 4 websites before they take action. So I call that bleeding. You want to reduce the bleeding or stop the bleeding. So why? Because a new client is more than just a client. No. In some industry, a new client can mean tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars if you're selling yachts or planes or things like that. But literally a new client, let's say you, again, to take the example of a car dealer or an RV dealer, a new client is more than just a client. Why? Because that client has a circle of influence. They know people. So again, if we go back to what we are talking about, things that are in your control, things that are out of your control. When you acquire a new client, what is in your control? It doesn't cost any money to make sure that you make that client happy, to make sure that the experience that that client has is top-notch. And that is a culture in your business. That's a culture that is top-down. That's a culture that starts with the business owner, the leader, but trickles down through all the employees of the business, including, and very importantly, the person who answers the phone at the front desk. So a new client is more than a client. So what that means when you acquire a client, look at it not as just one client, but potentially much more than a client. Because if they are happy with your services, they are going to rave about your services. On the other side of the coin, if they have one bad experience, that's all it takes today, one bad experience, they are going to put a devastating review on Yelp or Google. They are going to tell their friend not to do business with you, and that could be the demise of your business. I just have an example. I'm a boater.
Mm-hmm.
I brought my boat for an insurance claim to a company in Vancouver back in June, and I wanted to give them the business. I have a perception of that company that was actually not the reality of what that company really was about, and I had a horrific experience. Really bad. I could not use my boat the entire summer. even though the parts were available, they were so disorganized, so unprofessional. And I just found out yesterday, and that was just 6 months ago. I found out yesterday that they are out of business, even though they had like 5 locations. They are out of business. And I found out that I was not the only one who had a bad experience. Most people had horror stories to say about that company. So this is what I'm talking about. When you have one client with a bad experience, it can have a ripple effect, can be devastating. So look at it as a new client is more than just a client.
And that's why you need to have that customer journey. It's
so important.
It doesn't end when they purchase something from you. It doesn't end there.
So
it
starts actually. It potentially starts, it potentially starts there. The bottom line is that you have to be comfortable using traditional ways of generating business, but also you have to be well versed into communicating your message with the new current ways of marketing, the ways that we talked about earlier, the campaigns, the funnels, because there are components of communication where you are going to be involved, whether it's Zoom meetings, talking in front of groups, whether it is recording videos, which I really recommend, because there is a place for professional video production like what we do with Citrus Pie, but there is also a place we really encourage people to use their phone, to have a local guy in their team who is good with a camera and to take some content on a regular basis. And there's a place for that too. But the key is you have to be comfortable doing that, being on camera. You have to be knowledgeable on how to capture good quality sound
and how to nurture. It's all about nurturing people to the next level so that they ultimately become a client of yours. And it's like when you date, you don't just date and then they'll say, okay, well, let's kiss right now. Like, no.
But that's nice too sometimes. I'm French, what can you say?
So, you can't just meet somebody and then pitch them something. It won't work.
You have to have there has to be a journey. There is to be nurturing a journey for sure. And again, you have to become a better communicator using the new ways also. I mean, using technology and using camera, obviously, because we talked about YouTube. Even on Zoom, you have to be comfortable delivering your message, and you have to have some knowledge on how having decent light, decent sound, decent framing. It's all important. So that's kind of how we wanted to end that chat. We've been talking for about 45 minutes. I wonder, Devon, if you have anything you want to add. And Jenny, I don't know if you have anything you want to add. I think we covered quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
That was great, guys. I very much enjoyed it. And yeah, I guess my question is, what would be like, how would you tell in terms of telling your story offline and online, when you do the cold call or networking, or you're there in person, how do you very quickly deliver value in a conversation in person versus online? Because my world is, we do it online with, like I said, downloadable ebooks. Maybe it's a video course, free course, something like this. How do you do it very quickly in like a 2-minute elevator pitch?
Well, I think
he's an expert in this. So I'm going to interested to see what he has to say.
I think that it starts with having a clear understanding of the challenges that your prospect in that case would have. And how do you have that? You have that, first of all, you have to be knowledgeable in their industry, and you have to be knowledgeable about the current trends that are happening in that industry. And often these trends come with a problem. So I like to start with doing a general statement that they cannot object to. So right away, what that does is it creates trust, because they see this guy understands our industry. He understands the problem we are facing.
So
Uh,
it's not
It's
Laurent.
credibility.
It's not Laurent saying, hi, I'm Laurent Goldstein and I do video production. It's not talking to, because
Who
that.
cares? They
Crossway
don't care
doesn't-
about
They
that.
don't care about what
They don't
Laurent
care about
does.
the name of my company.
They don't care
But
about,
they will care if I say, you know, if I state, if I make a statement that they can only say, yes, that's true, you know. So, and so you need to have that knowledge. You also need to have the knowledge of that particular, as much knowledge as possible of that particular prospect, Devon. So I like to spend quite a bit of time studying their website. I go to their social media as well. I try to learn as much as I can about what makes them tick, you know, and according to that, I basically talk to them in a way that I speak their language, and I may already bring up some pearls of wisdom that they can use. You know, have you thought about that? You know, oh no, I never thought. Well, yeah, you could do that. That would really benefit. So that's how I would do it
value.
offline.
So see, he's bringing value.
I'm bringing value right
Comes
away.
back to the value, hey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But ultimately, my goal when I initially meet people, as I said, like if you said it's an elevator pitch, because usually it's a cold call, my goal there is not to sell my product or service. My goal is to set up a time to for having a meeting, you know, so that I have a chance to properly present the benefits and assess the needs, present the benefits of what we have to offer. So, but yes, it all starts with having a clear understanding of where they're coming from, the challenges they would have. Tell them that you do understand the challenges. Make sure that they agree that yes, this is true. This is a challenge in our industry, and yes, this is true. I have a problem with a new competition down the block, and this is why. Because I've already identified that by doing my research, and then say, well, have you thought about that? You know, one thing maybe you could do, one thing I would do, maybe is that. So, oh, I never thought about it. That's a good idea. So right away, I give value. And by the way, I'd like to tell you more because I really believe I can help, because we found a way to minimize that problem. Could be the bleeding I was talking about on the website. We found a way. Are you interested in learning more? How we do it? And by the way, if you give me some time, I'll be respectful of your time. You know, if you give me half an hour, I'll be respectful of that time. You will not be wasting your time. I promise you, you will be able to pick up some ideas, because sometimes it takes somebody from outside the business, right, looking in to give you some ideas, and sometimes a small idea that can make a big difference. So that's kind of how I do it. I like to meet people in a way that is smooth, natural, organic, authentic, really talking a human being to another human being. I like humor. I use humor.
People buy
as well.
People buy from people. They don't buy from organizations.
And I use humor.
So it's that human connection.
And yes, I would absolutely. And whenever it's appropriate, I like to bring some humor. It relaxes the atmosphere. And yeah, so that
sounds good. I mean, so like the big takeaways, it sounds like to me, deliver high value, you know, first. And well, first of all, know your prospect. I think let's go back to that. Know your prospect, know their niche, know their needs. You know, I also think too, like they might be obsessed with a problem that they're facing that's how you can, you know, attract them, bring them to your world. But they also might have the solution or another product already, and you need to agitate on the solution or the product, right, that they're using already. So there's also that, bringing them, but it's always bringing them up the ladder, right? Educating your prospect about, you know, how you could help them, but giving them that value first, you know, so that they begin to look your way.
Yeah, and then now I qualify that. So all of that is the communication skills that we teach. We teach that within Bizwell. Is educating the client. Yes, I do want to educate, but I come at it as I qualify. Before I educate, I would qualify what I would mean. For example, look, you obviously know your business much better than I do, right? At the same time, what I found out is that if you do that, you get that. So when I said that, look, of course, I respect you know your business much more than I do. At the same time, this is what I've noticed talking to hundreds of people who own a similar business. So when you do that, they see that you respect them. You don't come at it in a way that is teachy or, you know, not pushy, but
condescending.
teachy, condescending. I'm the authority, you're not. How can I say? I show respect. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, I feel that their guard goes down and they're more willing to listen. People are more open that way. So that is the kind of communication that I like to basically teach and motivate salespeople to communicate that way.
That's awesome, Laurent. That's great. And if anyone wants to, you can check out Laurent's program. I'll put it into the chat right now.
Yeah, thank you.
It's Laurent's program, Cash 22, and you can learn all about his traditional, and there's also some more new methods of sales, but Laurent focuses a lot on the cold calling techniques, which are so important and don't cost you anything but your time. So that's what's right. Really amazing about it. So there's the link in the chat. Do you guys want to wrap up?
We are all good. I wish you a wonderful end of the week. I'm going to go back at the boat show in Vancouver to talk to more people today. And yes, and that's, we wish you the best. And thank you for attending and listening to our webinar today.
Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Laurent. Join us on bizablestudio.com. You can join as a free member. You can access all of our films. You can access our Circle network, discuss with other people on our platform. And it's for free. And if you like, there's other things you can do too, but the free level gets you so much. So please join on bizablestudio.com and join today. Thank you very much, everyone. Have an awesome day.
Evan.
Bye for now.
Cheers. Bye-bye.